Well, guys, this is kind of it. It kind of started for me more so when, right around the time the Schmoedown show was a thing at Popcorn, specifically. I mean, I remember the Toad Hop days more so, and eventually when they got to when they started the Schmoedown at the at AfterBuzz TV, I think, the studios. And yeah, I'm gonna miss this. Until then, what we're gonna try to do is we're gonna talk about this. I'm gonna talk about the spectacular, while somehow intersplicing in between some of my thoughts also on just the Schmoedown in general, or at least I'm gonna attempt to. I don't know how it's gonna all work out, but with this, it'll be a clusterfuck mess. But when hasn't Schmoedown Rocks been, you know? It's already been a mess because my phone dropped here. But anyways, the spectacular being 9 seasons, it's already about over, and it just kind of happened already all there. And whatever storylines I guess they were trying to do around this season that felt like it needed to be closed, they did kind of close. I was told that they did say something about the whole thing with Chandru, but I think Jake was just on my buddy Jake. Like, if you want to see my reaction to what happened with a couple of the matches specifically, check out the last portion of the... I might timestamp it, leave it in there. I think I left a timestamp to a couple people I sent messages about with it. The Who's the Boss versus the Room Class. I kind of was already... not gonna be lie, being a patron to Ben Bateman, he sometimes gloats about stuff if he wins in something. So, yeah, he kind of gloated about this one. I kind of knew about... I didn't know who his partner, that he was involved in a team's match, and who it was with exactly, but he said in overall matches, he's outdone Bibbs. And which already in turn sort of spoiled that match. The real question was, who exactly was going to wind up teaming up that day for King Arthur, which it turned out to be King Arthur Tokyo Drift. Honestly, Drift as it was called, which was because primetime Polyamid. If that was the case, you had Drift Kings. You had Drift Kings. And you didn't take it. The fuck. I'm glad for one of my old OG Dungeon members at least getting involved in this match and getting to finally hold a team's belt on his shoulders after so long with not getting it, you know. Even though I know another player that didn't, but he's fine. But that other player is fine that he's got a better overall record, I guess, than Bibbs. Him and Bibbs have had a thing. It's weird, but nothing to really worry about. Was them versus the Ruling Class. Ruling Class were doing well this season, pretty much undefeated. And then Who's the Boss had their big run, and Ruling Class, unfortunately, I kind of knew anyway that Who's the Boss would have more of a potential shot, especially given how Ben was playing this overall most part this season, and where his head was going at this season, and how Mark was handling himself this season better than expected. So it just so happened somehow the magic came back, which was between them and Finstock, which he chose good. It's funny how he finally comes back for Who's the Boss this time around, but he wasn't there for the rest of the exchange this entire season. It was crazy, but you know, it is what it is. That was what started it, and then of course we had the teams match that followed it. which is weird that it wasn't later in the matchup since it was a teams match, but I guess they decided to release it earlier because I think word was getting around about about Ben bragging about it, to be honest. And but to find out it was Oyama, I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then they just basically add a tagline of Tokyo Drift on it. Either way, Lustrina and Zach were already like in the ethers, like, what? It's this match was like their cup of tea. It was his ultimate thing. I'm surprised he didn't show up in one of the chips involving that. Which it's a shame for Shazam, but Shazam was at least a great team still, regardless. Going overall. So it was still a nice thing that they had that. It's just a shame about the other teams that went on throughout this and no real closure was able to be given to those teams, unfortunately, because of this circumstances, so which is a shame. After that, the following matchup we did get. Then we got the Legends match, which was between Rachel the Crusher Cushing and Lady Justice Marisol McKee. Apparently there was a theme throughout this entire match that happened, and it was questions that somehow involved Remember the Titans. The writers had a field day. One of them you've seen my reaction to, and it's hilarious. Yes, we'll get to that eventually. But yeah, it was that was a theme. I think there were some other things that were going on. Another thing was with Ben's match that was funny, because anyone who's caught up, who's of Action Army knows this, and knows of a particular person that's literally named this particular answer to the question. There was no way Ben wasn't going to get it. It was clear PLD had to have written it, if not Kelly. They're like, 24601. Sing it with me, if you hadn't already. But of course, this was a singles match, not IG or teams necessarily. So it seemed like, and she never got the chance to have the team's belt. She came close. But just like Lady Marisol McKee ran into Sam Levine in this case. Yeah. And it seems like, and plus it was more just she was able to do better. Luckily she didn't get knocked out or TKO'd, which was good. Good on Rachel, but it was so far gone that, there was a chance, and given the kind of match that McKee had, that Lady Justice herself would have against Sam Levine earlier in the season, yeah, I wasn't expecting her to not get enough questions to pretty much win her match after that, but given how giving the Crusher's time away, being 3 years, the fact she even played as well as she did, she couldn't ask for anything better. I mean, given we were going to get essentially Roka versus versus Mance 3, and how that match would have just been probably even more of a joke than last Spectacular, honestly. Or at least it wouldn't have been one to bother to take seriously. Like this match, you could. It just managed to be a little more consistent in some ways. But to me, I think, and it was a solid match, but for me, the bigger highlight was, of course, the Intergeekdom 4-way. That could have been a 5-way if Kalinowski wasn't sick, but it is what it is. And it was a much nicer match. No one was fully in character, though it seems Smasher might as well have been. Once Let's Get Ready Schmoedown happened, he was on it. He was mostly on it. He wasn't playing like what he was in the last match, and he made up for it. He more than made up for it big time. Woo! Replay! What happened from there, man? Oh yes. Oh, wrong way. He was glorious. I couldn't have asked for a better. Given the circumstances, I definitely could have asked for a better way to end things. And he's now alongside Kalinowski as a 3-time champ. Maybe at some point, who knows if he could have retained if he was ever given the chance. But of course, it might have been a longer road if we still had it continuing for him, honestly. But we're lucky he had this opportunity and that he was on it. So, and it was nice, he got to, Dungeon gets in on a high note and we have a belt firmly sticking in place in the dungeon that's always been there, that deservedly been there since day one of the dungeon itself, the Intergeekdom title. We had another stake match, but that one, I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting us to bring it home. I'd have been happily surprised if we did. But she put up enough of a fight. She put up enough of a fight against Andrew. And that's that question. Remember the Titans question. My God, if you didn't see that, you gotta see it. You gotta see it. It's funny as shit. I like the fact that I'm like, wait, I went and betted if, I was gonna pull a Gucci. For those who know the Gucci verse thing, I was gonna pull a Gucci and go shirtless if somehow Nikki gets this question, Nikki got the question right, and somehow Andrew got it wrong. And sure as shit happens. It's like, the fact that, even her fight partner, she's like, duh. So, and, because I think we all wanted to see Nikki win it. Even everyone that was in that one wanted to see Nikki win it. It's just a shame it didn't happen. But I loved how they embraced each other as a couple, and, to him, he wouldn't have won without her and stuff, it was like a lot of heartwarming stuff was happening because, of how things were ending. And then between Nikki and Andrew DiMolanta, it basically we finally got to have our Demon versus Damon and our DiMolanta versus DiMolanta now. And when it comes down to it, the DiMolanas and the Damons are going to be the names that are going to become synonymous with Star Wars trivia in general at this point. If this match didn't already further solidify that at this point. But of course, the main event, of course, being the GOAT 2 match, the sequel match of the What is the GOAT, Sam Levine versus Dan Murrell. Will Dan finally do what he always does and gets the belt or not? Or will Sam be still on the roll? It was a good choice. It's just a shame that it wasn't as tight of a match again as before. Once again, it doesn't seem like the closest we got was clearly the first Murrell versus hell, it wasn't as tight as the first time they faced each other at the first collision, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah. But I still liked it for what it was, And then, of course, they choose to, it's them saying their goodbyes, all that. Which was still heartfelt for what it was. And it did kind of feel bittersweet. But overall, But it was quite a send-off to me. The only thing is, when it came to both the ladies thing and the send-off thing in general, I was more surprised to not see Stacey Howard. Aside from, images from past matches, I didn't see the two people I would have liked to see more involved that said to say their goodbyes and stuff, that I didn't get a chance to see happen, was Brianne Chandler and Stacey Howard. I felt like that was of the goodbye things that never did get showcased at all. That was the big void to me, personally. So But other than that, everything else was fine. All the other, it was the only time when it came to the whole lady thing that didn't bother me. Not in the way that people would say about what happened in Avengers Endgame. In fact, it felt more like Avengers Infinity War than Endgame to me. We'll put it in that context. I think it was done more respectfully, and it didn't feel like it was bashing you over the head with it. At least not to me. Some people might have, and they didn't see Endgame. They don't know what they're talking about. More than likely. Or they did, and they didn't see Infinity War to know that they did better with it. I don't know. But yeah, those were the matches. I've been following them since, and it took me a while. I had also dealt with a hard breakup. It kind of led to me kind of crushing on a certain particular individual, and then eventually I wanted to have a chance to form my own page for something in this. Like, I had Action Army on that, but I didn't start it or something. I wanted something I could and that's when Smasher came along, and I was championing it and everything. And then the early days of starting that dungeon, 2019 was not only the start, but the prime years of the dungeon for me. And not that it didn't become interesting in the later years up to this point, but it just, despite the loss, I was more worried about Smash getting that belt. I was bummed with Oyama's performance, but it's not that Oyama didn't have a even better send off with him, and the fact that he chose to come out with the classic shades and jacket this time around, which was weird, because he hadn't been doing that in a while. So it was nice to see him wear the OG stuff again. So, but I'm happy for him with the team's belt. So, Nikki pulled as great a performance as she did. It was pretty much that last question. She took a risk, and I think it's what hurt her the most in that match, which sucks. But would have been nice to also have the Star Wars belt there. But I get it. I'm not surprised Andrew winning it. Which I was bummed because Nikki didn't have a chance to get it, and it'd been much nicer if she got it. A lot of people wanted to see her at least get it. But I don't think to anybody's surprised Andrew winning it, though, because of the legacy he's made from beating Damon already twice. The Alex Damon, and trying to do what he could to make it interesting. It's just a shame that we had to wait for this to happen from the paywall and stuff. So this was a nice. They couldn't have done it better, because it was the one match we never got to see. Was because we had our Damon versus Damon. I think we all were hoping for Demolana versus Demolana, and I'm glad Nikki was able to give us help and Andrew did their part to make sure it happened. So, and we got what we got. So. It was a good enough match, worthwhile to end in that then on that side of the division. Even though I think the Intergeetum once again, like last year's Spectacular, kind of had it for me. Sure, it would have been even nicer if Mara was able to, didn't get unfortunate. I don't know how she was just knocked out. I thought she could have made it, honestly. I felt like should have made it to round 5. I don't know why she didn't, which I thought was weird. Or something I'm missing. Because she was 10, unless I missed something in the questions, I guess I felt like I might have missed something maybe somewhere along the way. But maybe it was because I felt she could have. I guess she was just that far behind from whoever the longest one was, maybe, I guess. Because there's so much going on with that, but because Smash was, I guess, just that far up, I guess, that she couldn't come back from it, which is a shame. But that's another knockout on Smasher's resume, I guess you could say. More than made up for what happened to him. Rats. Hell, if anything, the fact he pulled it off in this 4-way showed him pulling off this win. Of course, I should have known he was going to pull because he won a 4-way against Dan Murrell, Roca, and freaking Alex Damon. Like, yeah. Yeah. That was the thing, the biggest highlight was that win for me, dude. For me, and just that match, and kind of in general for me. Not that the moments from what started this was great, but just, and I miss it. I miss it. I mean, honestly, it just makes me sad. Thank you. Even with what collabs I've had for years, I still loved what the Schmoedown was, and I honestly am gonna miss it. I eventually have started to from the past month at least try to get used to not having to deal with it, but yeah, once this came around, I was already like bracing myself a little bit better, more, and also we finally get to end the whole thing with Elvis. Elvis finally coming back home to Barbarian during the post-trade of that match. We also find out some things behind the scenes of what we could have got an Evil Jessica arc for Jen Sturger, involving her continuing that. But because they were ending things, they decided to end that story arc while they could, and then I guess whatever other arcs I guess they did, and they decided to reveal, I guess they chose to end this whole Flirt and Flouse thing by just having Brett reveal himself as Flirt and Flouse, I guess, even though anyone who's bothered to keep up with it since the inception of the character knows who he is, so it just made sense, I guess, at the time to do it. It wasn't that big a surprise. It was just more meant to be played for laughs, if anything, and it sort of worked for that, but or if anything, at best it got chuckle out of me, and it went to him being heartfelt for, everyone's doing their thank yous, all this stuff, and it's my only regret involving the Schmoedown is not getting to be able to do a live event. And I was hoping someday sooner than later. And then once it was ended, I was like, well, there it goes. There goes that chance, Heck, I still want to... And at some point, I still would like to meet some of the people that have been involved, some of the friends I've made. And, especially some of them that have been even supportive of what I've done, whether it be through here or even more so through my other channel, The Burn Pit. Yeah. And, God, it was nice. It's still bittersweet for me. I mean, through and then kind of Smash gave me, and then I was just as heartbroken about how the things were falling around 2020. It just became such a shitty year. I was hoping that things with the dungeon would go well enough to make up for it for me, and for how bad a year it was. I just didn't think it would translate into the dungeon, and then I was lucky that the music that we got in the rock and metal and stuff like that, and all the other adjacents of rock adjacent stuff turned out as well as it did that in 2020, surprisingly. And having the catharsis of that one record that I'll still somewhat jam to if I ever get into that 2020 mind space. And we'll still champion that record to this day because it deserves it, and it's musically, lyrically, and just as overall is what it was. So, and I mean, I got over the whole Emma thing, especially finding out some things I didn't really want to know, and how I'm sure maybe I'll have a different experience than certain people that kind of, but I'm just glad I've managed to even find some fellow metalheads that, through this, that liked metal and rock and all this stuff during a day and age where it's where I'm in a country where it's not even in the pop zeitgeist hardly anymore. And if it is, sadly the people that choose to get involved in it are mostly, or most that are involved in it that aren't a legitimate band, or nothing but a freaking joke. Kelly. And don't stick with it, you know? That's newer-ish, I guess. So, and I found some through a lot of people, whether it be through Mike Deacon or, you know, trying to find some people that, I mean, hell, Jader, I've kind of in a lot of contact with Jader as one of my go-to guys, talk about metal and stuff, and he's from around Florida and stuff, and I was like, and it's been nice to see them. And overall, I mean, all the people even the people through, whether it be Action Army, through the Mondeverse, through guys like C-Dub, who honestly championed me, and while he was still wanting to be heavily involved before everything got toxic for him, I guess, or certain things happened that pushed him away, I guess. Overall, and and even people that like not just Woodburn, but also Doman, some people that used to be dedicated to art, or from what used to be Take 3, I think it's still a thing. Somehow, I haven't heard too much on it, but. And Danny Costume welcoming Action Army after the weirdest thing that ever happened with Andrew Guy beating Dan Murrow back during season 5 or 6. That, and then you still a homie to me, man. Homies I made also in the Action Army, TJ or 24601. Got everyone, like I said, everyone through there that also translated into the Mondeverse, the Iguchi-verse, to an extent. Everyone I've met through there, even the people that were around, like that I've met through What the Show crew, all those guys. And Smets bothering to champion me, movie guys loving my stuff, was great. And yeah, it's as the sun is setting here, so is the sun setting on the Schmoedown Rocks. But it's not the end for all of us. We still will have each other as a community. I just hope that some of you will still stick around here on this channel, and hopefully maybe check out my other channel, The Burn Pit. You know, follow me there. Be a pit head just as much as you are a dungeon head, maybe. I don't know what we'll do. I don't know what I'll do from there. I might still post stuff from this to there just for Schmoedown. But overall, guys, what did you think of Spectacular 7? Did you think that it ended the Schmoedown like it should have, the best way it could have? Leave a comment below, let me know. As always, guys, thank you all, to AfterBuzz TV, AfterBuzz Studios, to Collider Studios, to Skybound Entertainment, for holding the fort down as much as you can to even get us to 9 seasons. Thank you, Harloff and Ellis for this, and for one last time, for Schmoedown Rocks. Keep it random. Keep it real. Keep it rocking. And one last time I'll ask you, did you smell what the movie Trivia Schmoedown is cooking? Thank you. Take care, y'all. It was a good run. While it was. I'll miss it, but I'll still try to keep up with movies as best I can, and definitely most likely albums more so than anything, but you know. I just hope all y'all still stick around even once this is done, like I said. And thank you. Dungeon Head for life. Dungeon Master has spoken. Take care, y'all. Salute.